Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Friday, August studio chat. We're here with Jay Peterson, who is Evoto's representative in North America. He is currently based in Texas. And good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Dwayne. How are you, sir?
Terrific. I just wanted to thank you before we get going on this and give you a little bit of a tiny bit of a story. That's sort of my typical thing is we heard Evoto started to kind of rumble around on our WhatsApp group. Gosh, it must be 1 or 2 months ago. Admit I hadn't heard of it yet. And I poked around. I did the free trial, tried it, and was immediately intrigued and blown away, to be honest. And then I bought my credits and I started using it as a tool that kind of I use sort of in between Lightroom and Photoshop. And now I'm probably maybe putting it even a little bit more in front of my post-production workflow. And so I'm really, enjoying it myself. And the more that we hear about it talked about on our WhatsApp group, everyone else is too. So for that, we're very, very excited that you can jump in and maybe sort of shed a little more light on some of the nuances of the application, and maybe answer a few questions as we get going this morning. So it's awesome, and we're very grateful.
Cool. Very happy to be here. And good morning and good afternoon to most of the folks that are joining us.
Yeah.
Those overseas, good day to you, wherever you are in the world. Thanks, Dwayne. It's cool. Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you guys. I'm happy to have this conversation and hopefully introduce Evoto to some new folks that maybe it's not on their radar yet. That's a big part of my function with the Evoto team. But yeah, it's exciting. It's I think where you mentioned Evoto being sort of inserting itself into your workflow and kind of working its way into your workflow. Yeah. That's very exciting. Very, very cool.
No, Jay, you had mentioned to us when we started our discussions to see if we can sort of have this webinar, that you have a background in photography yourself, right?
That's right. I do. Yeah, I was a working pro for a long time. I got my start in architectural and real estate photography, kind of pivoted into headshots and portraits. And then at the point that I stopped working in a full-time capacity, that was my focus. Yeah, headshots and portraits.
Right on. So you very much understand, some of the things that a working photographer has to, keep in mind. So, cost, the ease of a tool, and also just to sort of how it can, I guess, scale or help us scale. One of the things that, that I was thinking about is that I wanted to mention that I like about the application is that, right now we're all being asked to do more for less and quicker. And also, in my studio, we're being asked to do more groups, I guess. So it's not just, the senior management being photographed. It might be all 10 or all 20 or all 50. But if the higher we go, the price point, we need to keep it really affordable. So Evoto seems to be a good approach to being able to do a higher volume and still keep it quick and keep the price point low.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really one of the core competencies of this particular editing platform. As a standalone all-in-one, the whole goal with this system is to enable us as photographers to stay lean, move fast, and not necessarily need to rely on outsourced retouching, which in a volume setting is pretty commonly the case. This allows us to maintain quality control, but also maintain sort of continuity of our edits, meaning that, we don't necessarily need to send things out anymore, at least with this system. I talk to Evoto users all day long, every day, and many of them still do use a retoucher in certain instances, which is fair game. I think there's always going to be instances where you've got a relationship with a retoucher that is great for certain things. Totally fair game. And we talk to users that have given Evoto to their retouchers. Honestly, that does happen as well. But yeah, this system is really, really unique in that it allows for us to edit hundreds or thousands of photos in a matter of minutes. It's really a decision-making tool. So the learning curve, the learning of a system and the manipulation of the images is less of a process now with this system, which is what's very, very interesting and very compelling about this tool.
Yeah. Something that I like about it is, especially with our community, our membership is we have a lot of very talented photographers, but our other commonality is everyone's very empathetic. They very much care about the person that they're photographing. So the idea about being able to retouch or enhance a photograph with a slider, you've got that full control. So if, let's say you photograph somebody who does need a little extra love, you can give it to them, or you don't have to give it to them, and it's up to you as a photographer. Now, when you send out, you have to get a relationship with a retoucher, and that happens. But I really like the idea that the slider is there. So, in some cases, let's say the reflection in the eyeglasses, you may want to go all the way. But in something that you're removing blemishes, you may not, or double chin, or wrinkles in necks. So, we have a lot of that sort of empathetic control.
Sure, of course. Yeah, cool. And I think that's another real valuable piece of the system. In the way that I describe it to folks that have never seen the system before and are, just trying to understand it conceptually is Evoto allows you to be as conservative or as aggressive with your edit as you like, right? So if you wanted to go full-blown Facetune and make it look a little bit over-processed, you've got that opportunity. You have that tool in your toolkit with this system. And on the inverse, you could be as conservative as you like. So if we only need to use certain features like the eyeglass glare removal and some very, very light retouching for blemishes, or maybe perhaps it's just eyeglass glare and straight hair removal for school photos or something of the sort, or senior portraits. Yeah, it's entirely up to you. Again, it's a decision-making tool more than, I need to learn how to, install Photoshop actions or create my own presets, or, I have to take all these masterclass trainings on how to keep up with an ever-evolving system. You don't necessarily, that's not the case anymore. We've lowered the barrier of complexity when it comes to at least retouching right now.
I think any good photographer likes to use their eye in that process. So you're doing what you're doing in real time and you're making a call on it. That's enough or that's too much. So I personally quite like that. So today you're going to run us through, you're going to maybe take us through a little bit of a potential workflow. And then once we do that, I may jump in and ask a question or two while you're doing that. And then after we have a few questions that we've been given from some of our members, but I'll let you do a shared screen and let us see what's under the hood.
Absolutely. Yep. Give me one quick second. I'll get a screen share going here. So a couple things. I'll lead off by saying that what Evoto does, it's very, very compelling and appreciated, at least from my perspective, from a photographer's perspective, is we are constantly pushing updates to the system. So for those of you that are existing users, you notice that you get a pop-up window generally every other month, somewhere in the time frame of usually about 2 months. But we're always updating and upgrading existing features. So like the eyeglass glare removal, the straight hair removal, which we've already mentioned, those things are constantly getting pushed new updates, even in the background, without needing to necessarily click a button. We're currently on version 3.6 and 3.7. The beta version of 3.7 is available. It's got some pretty cool new stuff. 3.7 does, it's got advanced features with straight hair removal. Of course, we've got eyeglass glare removal. Clothing de-wrinkle, sky and background replacement. There's some new stuff that's baked in there. Some really, really cool stuff, including lip manipulation. We've got a brand new tool for chapped lips, which is something that was pretty highly requested for a long time. Raw processing. We've got tethering now available in the system. I'll walk us through what all of that looks like. And there's even now a smile generator. We had a smirk line before, but now we can actually generate proper smiles on folks. So if we're in an instance where we need to actually, add a proper smile, we've got that flexibility now. So yeah, workflow related stuff, it's pretty straightforward. What I think would be great is just kind of show folks the user interface and how I would typically go through the editing process, even for just one quick image here. Sure. So again, Evoto being a standalone desktop application, this is what it looks like when I call up my Evoto instance on my computer. And for context, I'm on a Mac Studio in my home office right now. So this is where I land. You can see I've got all of my projects. Some of these are demo projects and some of these are my own. Like we can see the Teddy Lightroom catalog folder. This was a recent shoot that I did. But for example's sake, I'll just pop into the portrait retouching. Now I'm going to reset this image back to 0. So this is my original content file. This is my Sony RAW file, if you will. because I'm a Sony shooter context. So we've got a couple things going on here. Number one is if I needed to ingest more photos or add, we can see we've got this timeline at the bottom. I would simply go to this plus button, and of course I can always drag and drop. I'll get my folder structure that pops up and I can drag and drop photos in, or I can manually select. Very similar to the Capture One, Lightroom, Photoshop experience for ingesting photos. Very, very simple and very simple, right? Just below that, I've got my presets. So I've got my recommended presets. These are what we provide to all users. So you've got access to jump in and start testing and utilizing any of these. And then I've got my presets. So what I've done is I've actually taken some of these recommended presets, made some simple tweaks to them, and save them as my own, right? Like we do in Lightroom and all the other platforms too.
Right.
I've got some masking and some history tools here, so I can actually keep track of all the stuff that I've done to this photo as I've started the retouching process. I've got a little hand tool up here. That is just simply for moving this guy around if I need to zoom in or adjust. Then I've also got a liquify tool. I've got a content aware patch healing. I've got all those tools built directly into the system as well. So I'm going to roll up this preset here. I'm going to fit him back to screen. And then from the top right, I've got color adjustments. I've got my portrait retouching tools. I've got my background adjustments and my background replacement. I've got my clothing and accessories touch up. This is the clothing de-wrinkle. I've got my cropping, and we've also got brand new to version 3.7. We've now got AI cropping built into the system. So we can actually center and set pixel by pixel exactly where the crop is going to land on every single subject. And then, of course, last but not least, I've got my tethered shooting. So if I had a camera, and I do right behind me, plugged in, I won't go into a full demo for the tethered, but it is literally plug and play. When I plug in my Sony A7 IV, with any USB-C or any sort of tether cable, it is literally plug and play.
Really?
There are limitations on camera control with the tether right now because we just released it. This is like version 1 of Evoto tether, but this will be a full-blown Capture One Lightroom experience, I think, in due time. So for color corrections, really quickly, I've got some color looks. We can think of these almost as presets, but these are more advanced color correction tools. And again, slider based, Dwayne, like what you were saying, everything in the system is slider based. So we'll start to see even right here that this will automatically update, and I can adjust the intensity of this particular preset, even just with the AI color looks. I've also got these filters down here. These are something of also presets, and again, slider based, so I can adjust the severity or the intensity of these things. And then what I'm going to do is reset this, and we'll go down into our basics or our global adjustments, temperature, tint, exposure, contrast, hues, blacks, whites, all the traditional stuff that we're accustomed to seeing in every professional editing platform. All these things exist. And some of you will notice that these windows are automatically rolling up as I select on those. This is also a brand new feature or functionality that we just rolled out. Now, there are ways to turn this off, so you could have everything expanding if you so choose to, but I like the sort of clean aesthetic of these things automatically rolling up. Next down from here, and this is the fun stuff, Dwayne. This is where I think a lot of folks find or hear about word of mouth with Evoto. Things like the freckle and acne tool, right? So if I punch this up for dramatic effect, this will update in real time. You can see, and I hit the space bar on my keyboard. Here's my before and here's my after. And let me zoom right on in. We can take a look at those freckles and some of the acne, the blemishes that are being removed. And here is my face mole removal. We can see that the system is automatically grabbing that, but it's maintaining continuity in the skin texture of this subject, which I think is really, really clever.
Yeah, and at no time did it impact any of those stray hairs, and it knew freckles and blemishes versus moles. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Speaking of the stray hairs, if I pop down into the hair panel, what I can actually do is I've got a stray hair removal slider. And again, I've got a couple of additional sliders to create boundaries around what that stray hair removal might do. So here's my before, and I'll have you take notice of the forehead area where we've got a bunch of flyaways as well. Yeah. And it's automatically grabbing those, right? So let me fit this back onto the screen, and here's our before and here's our after. So for me, even just with those two sliders, I haven't even gotten into any of the real skin retouching. I haven't removed any of the face shine. Maybe I want to punch up his eyes, remove some of the red veins in the eyes. Maybe I want to change his eye color. Maybe I want to do some face adjustments. Maybe I want to elongate his neck or shrink his neck. Maybe I want to do some jaw adjustments. I have the flexibility to do all those things and make those minor tweaks. But I love how this image looks, even just with straight hair removal and the blemish removal applied. So for those really conservative photographers like myself, I really don't want to tweak that image too much. This is very much a usable image. I would be thrilled to give this back to my client as, at least for proofing. Just those, I completely agree. I think just having a couple of very conservative but really impactful revisions made to this image, it completely transforms what it looks like.
What I love is that so every photographer has their style of shooting, has their style of retouching, and so you have a really robust application here that I know that I would gravitate to certain aspects of it, and I may not to other ones. And I think other photographers in our group, have these specific styles that they may only use certain aspects of the application. So that's terrific, and it's cool that like you say, there's certain things that are kind of the sizzle or the magic that has brought people in, like the glasses glare or the flyaways or the blemishes, but I had no idea that it actually does some really basic stuff too. So that's super exciting.
I completely agree. And I mean, oftentimes I mentioned this to you. I've spoken with many Evoto users. A lot of folks that, the typical workflow is to start in one of the other editing processing tools, typically for raw images. Yes, Evoto does process raw images. I'm a Sony shooter. I bring in all of my Sony raw images directly into the system, and Evoto handles raw images with relative ease. There were instances back at the beginning of the year where we had some system limitations with Nikon cameras. No issues anymore. We can basically throw all sorts of the widely used raw images. There are some limitations with Hasselblad cameras, but that's the only thing that I know of with certain Hasselblad raw images. But otherwise, everything Nikon, Canon, Sony, Panasonic, all of it, everything can get thrown into the system with ease. And then the color corrections. Most people don't even. It's often overlooked because we have all of these really exciting retouching tools. But the color adjustments are equal on. They're on par with any other editing platform.
Jay, we just had Craig from London just pop up and ask a quick question while we're in this phase of what you're showing us. Is it possible? Let's say there is a particular mole you want to just bring back. Can you do that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So if we pop into the blemish removal panel one more time, and we can see that we've got the face mole toggle button turned on. So we've removed those moles, right?
Right.
So if I turn this off, just for context, it looks like the system's grabbing what appears to be 4 or 5 different moles. Now, what I can do is actually just pop right up into this little pen button, if you can see my little cursor on the screen, and then I can grab any one of these and remask this or bring it back into the system or back onto my image. Right? That's it. Piece of cake, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's fast. That's easy. Again, it's controlled, but it's real time that you can see it. That's cool. Right on.
Yep. And the same thing applies for any features for those of us, for anybody that's new or an existing user. This is a very, very common question, so I should call it out. Wherever we have that little pen tool on any one of the features, whether it's in color corrections, portrait retouching, or any of the other panels that we'll look at in a minute, this little pen tool is the masking tool. So this is where we can make those subtle adjustments. Yeah.
I just want to mention to our group that are watching is Barry behind the scenes is recording all of this. So just know that at any time everyone will get a link to it, so you can go back and sort of see some of these things again.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot to get through. I think I could talk for hours and hours about all of the system functionality with Evoto, but I think the big thing to understand is how much of a time-saving tool this thing really is, right? Even with just the portrait retouching that we've done so far, for me, that was, that would have been easily somewhere between 25 and 45 minutes worth of bouncing between Lightroom and Photoshop to get it to what we just did in a matter of seconds in Evoto. That's really valuable for me. That allows me to stay lean, to move really, really fast, but not compromise any sort of quality in my edits, because ultimately this is what my image would have looked like, but it would have been individual stroke by stroke, the remove tool in Lightroom or layer by layer in Photoshop, masking that stuff out and layering in actions and all that jazzy stuff. But unnecessary, right? The key thing for us is revenue generating activities, which is getting people on the other side of your lens. This is allowing us to book more work and keep moving fast and meet with more people, book more clients, and give users, our customers, our clients, the experience of getting their images faster, which is what everybody wants.
Yeah. We've got just two questions I want to bring forward. The easy one, I think, will be, so this young man's got kind of some kind of darker shading under his eyes. Is that easy to get rid of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a few different things that we can address. We've got the eye wrinkle, we've got dark circles, and then we've also got eye bags. So the system, again, being slider based, is we can adjust any one of those things to any sort of severity that we want. Yeah. So if I pull these things back down to about 50%, you can see the system updating it in real time. And just for example's sake, let me pull the freckle and the acne all the way back down. So we're just seeing what his eyes look like. And we punch in on him. So there's our before, really, really subtle, but making a major impact, a major difference in what he'll see in himself when he gets this image delivered to him. And then if I need to push that up a little bit, again, slider based, piece of cake. We just pull that thing up a little bit further. And again, like you said, Dwayne, a few minutes ago, it's all based on our eye, right? We're going to go through, we're going to spot check those images as we're doing this, figure out what works for this particular image versus the next image or versus the next subject. But if we're happy with this, and we think generally somewhere around 77, 75%, that slider for the under eyes works, what we can do now is we could select all of the images in this timeline down here. We could have the blemish removal, the eye bag adjustments, and the stray hair that are applied to this image. Again, our before and our after. And I can sync this to all of those other images that I have of him in this catalog. It'll literally make the same impacts, the same portrait retouching adjustments will happen on all of those images if they can be applied, which they will if he's facing the camera. If he's facing the opposite direction, if he's looking at the door behind me, of course, the algorithm won't pick up a face. But the beauty in the system is that we're able to move extraordinarily fast after we're done editing that first image and making those decisions. Applying those to the other images is just a matter of seconds or minutes.
So let's just say, and this question comes in through Amy and Tammy, sort of a blended question is, so normally, and I'll put it into my context. So normally I would put everything through Lightroom, I import RAW, I make a proofing gallery, I export it in JPEGs, and then I send that proofing gallery to my client, and then they choose one, and then I would use Evoto to do just the one. But could we not kind of just step aside of Lightroom and bring the raw files into Evoto? Let's say I have, 20 shots of one person, shot basically the same, just with slightly different expressions. Find the one that we love, do those enhancements, then take it right across the board, export them all as JPEGs, and then the client is seeing proofs that just look better.
Absolutely.
Is that going to slow? Does it slow it down to bring RAW in versus a JPEG?
No, not necessarily. No, I think there are limitations on how large of a file you can bring into Evoto. I believe individual file size is 1 gigabyte, so the files will need to be under a gig, which on all modern cameras should be. Even the large format, even the medium format like Fuji's and that stuff. Is it possible to bring in all images, process everything? There's no reason not to. The only reason is if pricing is a barrier, right? Evoto is a credit-based system, and the way that this works is if we're happy with this particular image and I have got 3 others that I want to export, that's a total of 4 images, so I would be utilizing 4 credits. At the most expensive version of Evoto is our base package, which for us in the States, $84 US. That works out to about 7 cents per photo. So we're talking about less than $1 to deliver or share those 4 images that this client might consider and might buy. And because we're showing him 4 finished images or close to finished images, maybe he's more likely to buy all 4 instead of just 1 or 2. Right. Who knows? It's pretty compelling, and that's the case. That's usually the case with most photographers. They find that Evoto's significantly increased. Almost all of the time, it's 2x their sales conversions. Yeah,
that's pretty remarkable. Amy also, she didn't have a question. She just said she's excited to see what is coming, what's on the drawing board. And on that note, I know you had told us this story, and I love this, that you were at a trade show, and one of the people who were learning about the what you had to offer, they said, yeah, this is really great, but if you could only get rid of the glare in glasses. And you say, oh well, that's in the works, and then before you know it, now it does it. So the cool thing about a drawing board is that the users, if they have something that they really want to have help with or see, they can put it forward to Evoto. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, yes, and it's a great segue into a whole other topic, which is Evoto builds features based on user feedback. It's exclusively user feedback. We've got a very, very large product pipeline, lots of things that are in R&D, lots of things that are being considered. All of that is a direct result of us talking to our users and prospective users that need other features built into the system in order to adopt it. All of it's fair game for us. We want to hear about all of it. It's a big part of my function with the team is capturing that feedback and sharing it with our product managers and others at the Evoto headquarters. But yeah, it's critically important to us that we hear from users about their experience, about, hey, I love the eyeglass glare removal, but I wish I found instances where I was able to break it because the strobe was just too hot on that particular subject, or the angle was off, or straight hair removal, or whatever the case is. We build and we revise all of our features based on our conversations with users. Yeah.
I guess one of the things that I like about anything that is AI related is that it's always a forward movement. Like we're not building something and then like, here you go. You've built something, but it's always, in a mode of development and moving forward.
Continuous improvement. Absolutely.
It's quite neat, and also I wanted to kind of mention, to our group that, and this is my compliment to the folks in Singapore, is that my feeling, my reaction to the folks that are kind of at the top who are doing this, just good folks, and that's a big part of what Headshots Matter is about. Is as I think I mentioned to you, is we like connecting good folks with good folks. So we're at some point, if the folks in Singapore see this, I just want to say thanks. Right.
Excellent.
I think Ramon had a question, but I missed it as I was sort of going off on some kind of. Here we go. Can we see the before and after comparison? Ramon just wanted to see just that the before and after of this one. Just now that you've really taken it somewhere, and
sure. Yeah, and again, for context or utility anyway, we have 2 different ways to review before and after images. I can use the space bar on my keyboard, which is what I'm hitting right now. You can hear the clicking. And then just next to the fit and the aspect ratio, there's a little before and after button right here.
Okay.
So that's right down here in this bottom right corner.
Okay.
There's our before and after.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
It's really very cool. Yeah.
So, Barry, what's our time like? Should we move into some more of a question base, or are there some other things that you'd like to show us, Jay?
Yeah, I'm happy to. There's a few different things that we could take a look at as we let some questions kind of roll in, and I'm happy to take any Q&A, any questions. I feel like this is a good space for us to open up. You've got a lot of talented folks, and I'd love to hear from them if they've got any questions particularly the folks that are users and also the folks that have never seen the system before. I want to hear from them and, have an opportunity to answer any questions they have.
Yeah.
So
Tammy has a question here from Minneapolis regarding cropping. I'm wondering if there is an AI version where it will keep the size of the head the same and move the crop around to keep the crop similar in the head position.
Yes. Yes. So that we've got a couple different ways to address this, right? Number one is we've got this brand new AI headshot crop. So this allows us to go through and create basically cropping parameters. And we can see right here that we've got the face, and then we've got the face and the top. Now, what the system will do is it will automatically detect pixel by pixel how much space between the top of the head and the top of the frame of your image there is. If there is no space between the top of the head and the top of the frame, it will default to like what we see here. You can see that we're pushed right up against the boundaries of the image. But we've got two different flavors here, and we've got the ability to adjust some of these things. And we'll get an error message again if the system is automatically detecting, hey, you're hitting the top of the image. This is a brand new feature for version 3.7, which we just released recently. It's in beta right now, but it is available. It's publicly available. Everybody that's listening can download this and use this today and test this out. But yes, we've got the ability to do this cropping functionality with relative ease. We can adjust by centimeter, pixel, or inch, and then you can plug in the amount of pixels. You can adjust face versus head, create that margin space. This is our first iteration on what AI cropping looks like. Yeah, great question.
David just asked, is there a way of dialing back the master, so everything that you've done, can you dial everything back 50%?
Great question. Short answer, no, not right now, but it is something that we're talking about. Yeah. We can see that we've got all of these different sliders that are adjusted right now, some at 95, 100, 77, 78.
Okay.
What if there was a master slider just to bring all of those down gradually? Great suggestion. I'm going to take it away as a note and make sure to relay that back to the product team.
Yeah. And I think Justin's just sort of kind of jumped in on Ramon's question. If it's possible to see the effect of one slider. Yeah. So you can, I think you'd that's pretty easy. So while we have this up, you can just the on off with just say stray hairs or on off with.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So if we pop back into the stray hair removal, we've got 3 different sliders that are configured right now. So if I automatically bring all of these sliders down to single digits, and then I bring this guy up to 100%, you can see our before and our after. Very, very subtle adjustments. It's just really gently cleaning up the sort of the boundaries of that stray hair. And then if I punch these up, then we'll get a little bit more aggressive with the edit, with the amount of stray hairs that are being removed.
Yeah. That's terrific. Maybe a question that I have, because we're having more and more clients ask for this, where I don't know, let's say we've shot 6 lawyers in a particular location downtown, and we've shot them on location. When we're done that, we always shoot just the background with that nice sort of out of focus for us. And then we have that. And then they just have one new hire. They send that person to our studio.
Yeah.
Is there a way that Evoto can help me, instead of sending it out, mask and add a background?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. So let me fit this image back onto our screen, and we've got a whole panel for all of those adjustments. First things first, we've actually got a background adjustment. So this is for those seamless, or if you're shooting on a SICK or something similar. So basically something that's not fabric in most instances. This button will literally allow us to clean up any scuff marks that are on like a white or a gray for people coming on to our seamless with sneakers or dress shoes or something of the sort, like rubber soles. Really, really cool. The background changer is exactly what you're asking about. So I can actually throw him on a transparent and punch him out. I can put him on white. I've got gray. I've got some gradients. I've got some fabrics. I've got a whole bunch of different backgrounds that we provide. Evoto provides right here, and then you can also ingest your own. So this is one of my own backdrops where I added a vignette. It's entirely up to you. If you've already got a plate image, is the way that I describe it, of a background that you've already shot, drop it right into my backdrops. This will be saved locally on your computer in your Evoto account, and you can throw that on any image that you like.
Yeah, and once let's say we add it to one of our backgrounds, can I adjust the position of that person precisely on that background?
Sure. Yep, absolutely. There are some adjustments that we can make to those backgrounds. You can see here that we can preserve particular areas. We can select the fill mode, whether it's center alignment, stretch. This will just help align where that backdrop is falling onto your subject. So if you've shot 1/4 versus 3/4 or something of the sort, it's a one click to just make those subtle adjustments. And then all of these other tools like the size, the vertical, all of those things will allow you to manipulate that background a little bit more meaningfully. I'll say this now, and it probably will change sooner than later. The only thing that the system really doesn't do right now is generative fill of expanding a background, right? Even though Evoto is very much an AI-centric company and an AI-centric tool, we don't have the generative fill that I think a lot of folks are using in Photoshop right now. Something that we're talking about internally.
Okay. And once you have that new background behind the person, you can just only adjust the background. You could lighten it, darken it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got some local adjustments. So if I want to, I can just pop into my background right here. And then if I wanted to, I could make some subtle adjustments to color, contrast, hues. I could punch it up, punch it down, make some color adjustments to the actual background itself. Whatever I like. And then on the inverse, I can actually mask and I can make local adjustments to my subject as well. I've got a whole bunch of different ways that I can make adjustments to my subject. Once I've replaced that background, I'm happy with what it looks like in the placement of that background. I can change gears and focus on my subject. Yeah.
And it's going to be pretty good on the fine detail of the hair when we're doing that mask.
Yeah, I think in nearly all instances, the big thing is that the system algorithmically is looking for the background separation between the subject and your background. So as long as there's as long as there's enough margin in there, of course there'll be instances where the straight hair removal is competing with a replaced background or some other retouching tool. But in most cases, 99% of the time, it works fabulously. Yeah.
Stephanie asks, how would you get rid of the sensor dust little patch on the right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. What I would do is I would actually pop right into one of these tools. Why is it not letting me get in there?
Just do it by hand.
There we go. Yep. And that's exactly what I would do is I would grab this healing tool and I would grab one of these. That's it. I would just manually grab that really quickly.
What the hell?
Yep. It's a cable. I got one right here too.
Yeah. There's 2 workflow questions. Can you go over the file formats again? Will this create file duplication through? I missed it. Sorry, Craig. I didn't read it. Oh, there we go. Will this create the file duplication through the workflow, especially when working from Capture One? Yeah.
Yes, it will. And no, Evoto is not a plugin. It does not directly integrate with Capture One, Lightroom, or Photoshop, or any other tools. This is a dedicated standalone. So this will continue to be a dedicated standalone for the foreseeable future. Will it create duplicates? Short answer is yes. We need to have a reference image. So in the event that you ever needed to manipulate this photo again, which you definitely can do, and it will never cost you any additional credits, there needs to be basically a reference image is the short answer. So yes, it will duplicate. It will not override. If you so choose to override those images, your raw images with these manipulated images, that's entirely up to you. That will be a manual task for you to go through and basically drag and drop those images into that folder. But the system will never override original raw images or original images, I should say.
I think Tom has a question. Let me just quickly sort of just screen capture that. Tom says this is a specific question. Hard for me to say. Can I see the question again? I'd like to add a bit of blue in my blacks using selective color in Photoshop. Does Evoto have selective color?
Yeah, good question. So the way that I would address this is I would probably come down into this particular tool, and I would use this as a reference point to add in those colors or layer colors together.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different experience, but yes, we can effectively get the same result with a little bit of love in the system. Yeah.
Tammy, so are you saying that if a client says we have edited them too much and we need to make a change and re-export, it won't cost extra?
That's correct. Yes. So the credit-based system is really unique in that once you brought this image into Evoto, you're happy with your edit, you click that export button, you can always go back and re-edit that image. So the example that I like to give is we've done all the blemish removal, but we forgot to add in eyeglass glare removal, or we forgot to do stray hair removal. You can always go back, add that feature onto your image, export it, and you've already used the credit. It'll never re-ding you for the credit. The caveat to that is, of course, if you leave the system, if you export, bring that over to something like Photoshop, and then realize, I need to bring this back into Evoto, Evoto doesn't know. It only recognizes that image as a brand new image because you've re-imported the image. But as long as the image stays in the system, it'll only ever cost you one credit.
I think that, the thing that I'm learning is that, like anything that we are learning that's new, it's going to take a little while to find our legs and to explore, to experiment, to play with it. And so there might be, again, learning curve and a little bit of cost that comes from that, which it's a minimal cost in my opinion. And then as you get better at it, then you're going to really, it'll become an even more cost-effective tool.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, I think for us, I can speak from my own experience, right? When I was a full-time photographer, this is the tool that I wish I had 10 years ago. If I had this tool 10 years ago, I would still be a full-time working photographer, and my business would be two or four times the size that it was back when I was full-time. Because I was very reluctant to send my images out. I didn't like working with retouchers. It was terribly expensive, and that's probably my own fault for not finding a lower cost partner to collaborate with. But this would have enabled me to move fast and again, stay very, very lean. And it's not terribly expensive for the amount of value and time savings that I get with this. I'm not up editing until 3 a.m. with this tool, right? So I think the cost is really nominal compared, and it's incredibly fair, particularly right now.
Yeah. Jay, before we kind of just go to some questions, is there another image that you could bring up that you could give us a bit?
Why don't we move over to a female subject? This looks good. Okay, cool. So let me reset her. So here's my original raw file, right? So the first thing I might do is actually, why don't I throw on a preset? Let's look at one of the natural presets. And then I'm going to turn this off so we can see all of the portrait retouching and some of the very, very subtle color correction that's been applied to her. So here's our before. You can see that we've definitely got some blemishes here. We've got some very, very light under the skin blemishes that are just kind of popping through, including up on the forehead and right in that triangle, right in the nose and upper mouth area. And we've got some really bad chapped lips. We've got some straight hair removal that we could address. So what I'll do is very, very quickly run through this. And Dwayne, feel free to ask any questions as I kind of blast through this. So I've got my freckle and my acne pulled up. I've got body blemish turned on because we can see some shoulder area over there. And it looks like I've got some unification turned on. Again, all of this was built right into a preset. So again, what I can do is go through, edit an image, save that as a preset, which is right down here in the bottom right. And if I love that preset, I can apply this to the same subject on all of their other images, or I can sync it, or I can do the copy and paste, just like we're all accustomed to, right? Then if I go down into the stray hair, let's go on ahead and turn this guy up to about 80%. And there's our before. Zoom right in on this. Look at that. Electrocuted. And now we're all cleaned up. So
speaking of hair, Jay, so just to her left, or no, her right, our left, you can see through the hair, you can see the background. Is there a way that you could minimize that?
There are some subtle ways, but what I would probably do to address this particular image is I would probably come in and mask that stuff out. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, so to just go to our left of her lips, and you can see right where
Down in this area?
right there. Yeah.
Sure. Yep. There's a couple things that we could do. We can fill in the hair part line, which would address the top of the head, high cranial top, again, top of the head, and then the hairline itself. I don't necessarily have a tool to fill in that gap completely, but that is something that we're very, very interested in building as well.
Okay.
Let me go on ahead and make some of these adjustments so your users can see. So here's our before, and we can see the hairline, and the whole top of the head's been adjusted subtly, and this whole area has been filled in. Yep.
Very nice.
But yeah, great note. I would love to be able to fill in this gap as well. Little distracting.
Yeah, that's something that we would try to do in Photoshop with the remove tool or something. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And can we see how the lips? Because you said that she's got sort of chapped lips, and that is something that does come up.
Yep. So we've got a couple things that we can look at. I've got facial expressions. So if I wanted to throw a gentle smile on her, I could do that. If I wanted to add artificial teeth, I could also do that. I'm not going to for this example. I like how she looks without the teeth generated. I'll add a little gentle smile on her. And then if we pop down into the eyes, what I might do is just add a little bit more pop. And yeah, I think that looks good. Not too terribly distracting, but just for example's sake anyway. And then let's pop down into the makeup panel. And I've got lip makeup right here. And I've got lipstick, so I could literally adjust the color of her lips. I've got this lip makeup panel, so I can adjust right here, sort of the different saturation, the brightness, the dimensionality. And then for skin retouching, what we can do is can unify both and match the color or the tonality of her face to her body, which has already been applied here. Got a little light touch on there. And then let's go back up into the blemishes. And let's see if we need to address anything else. Smile line looks good. Dark circle, body blemish. Cool. All of that looks really good. And then let's go back into our makeup panel. And what I would do is I would go to our makeup suite. What we could do is actually adjust the entire sort of makeup that she's got applied right now, contouring, blush, all of the stuff can get applied. And then I've got face decorations. If I wanted to apply any sort of freckles artificially, I could drop that on her or not. Some really cool stuff in here. And let me see if there's anything else that we want to address.
Craig has a question that is about the makeup. Is there an image that instead of, I guess you're doing a bit of this now, but he just asked if someone comes in and they have really not great makeup, like maybe some clumping or something. Is there a way to adjust that? And I'm gonna just I'll put it a little tiny, not a shout out, but just I hope Fiona is here. Fiona is a makeup artist turned photographer, so I'd be anxious to know what she thinks of some of this, because she's she does the makeup then shoots, so it'd be interesting to see how she would use these tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a few different things that we can look at for adjusting. There's lots of adjustments for the face and for the body. For the body specifically, without getting too far into it, we've got this full body reshape panel. So we could literally adjust the entire body. And if I zoom down a little bit, we can see where the system can find a subject. It's making these types of adjustments, right? So this is where I say tread carefully. Be very, very careful with your edits here. Likewise with the head, we can literally resize the entire head. We could literally elongate or shrink or dimensionally make larger the neck area. We can, it can get pretty interesting pretty quickly with some of those tools.
Some people might say freaky.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. For the reshaping anyway, we've got a few different things that we could do here. For the face reshape, we can quite literally come in and start to make some subtle adjustments with, again, the jawline, the temple, cheekbones, right? We can pop those out a little bit. The jawline can be adjusted, the jowl line area, the face size itself, very similar to the full head adjustment, the jaw length. again, the idea here is that you've got all of these tools built into your toolkit with Evoto, so you can decide to make those adjustments, right? Now, one example that one of the headshot or senior portraits that I shot many, many years ago, the kid had just had his wisdom teeth taken out, so he was really swollen on one side. Right. What I've got with the system is the ability to address just one side, so I could even out or bring his jawline back in because he was still super swollen on one side, right? And his mom was thrilled, absolutely thrilled about that. But do you know how many hours it took me to do that in Photoshop with the liquify and all the layers and all that stuff? Yeah.
Jay, I wanted to introduce Stephanie Belton, who's just jumped in on our call here.
Hey, Stephanie.
Stephanie is in the UK, and I think she has a specific question. Hi, Stephanie.
Sure. Hi there.
Hey, Stephanie.
First of all, I'm amazed by how many things I did not know about Evoto and to put all the stuff that you've demoed into action.
Sure.
Well, very often I go into companies, I take photos of all the stuff, and I love that I can go and sync across. But the other day, I accidentally synced across a bunch of images, and I know in Lightroom I can just go undo and it unsyncs everything.
Right.
Tried to do that, and what it did was undo whatever I'd done on that particular photo. I hadn't undone the sync, so then I went in and manually, stepped back in the history with every photo. I don't
right.
address that.
Yeah, I think I hear you, and I know exactly. Lifetime Lightroom user here as well, so I know exactly which function you're talking about. I think. Is there a reverse button to unsync all of the images? Not so much. I think the best case scenario is to go through and just simply reset those images and start over.
Okay.
In the interest of time, anyway. But it's a great note, and I think that's a really good suggestion that we should probably think about building into the system.
Okay, because I know in when you go undo, it undoes even just you going from one image to the next. So it's got an unusual undo, which can be useful in some situations, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, and for context, for those that are listening, what she's describing is if we had these two images that were both fully edited, and let's just sync those so they both have all of the same features already applied, and then if we wanted to undo those images, what we would do normally is come up here, go to Reset All Effects, and this would impact, theoretically, both images, but it's only impacting the first one, the one that's highlighted with our alpha image here, not impacting the second one. What she's describing is, I'd love to be able to select all the images and then click that undo button, the reset all button, and it impact all of the images that I have selected. It's a great note.
Okay, and the other thing I wanted to ask was for the background replacement. There's different backgrounds I can pick and I can upload my own, but I was wondering if there's a way that I can specify some RGB values and have that as a solid background.
That's a good question. The way that I would address that is I would drop a new background in, I would go back to the color adjustments, and then I would select the background and I would make those adjustments in this way. So this, I think, would be important for you, particularly if you have portrait retouching already applied, other color adjustments applied. Save that as a preset and then apply that to all of the other images. Either that or syncing would work like equal parts as well.
So if I have an RGB value for a background that I've used for my client for the past couple of years, how would I'm not sure what you mean there.
Well, there's a couple different ways that you can address this. If you've got that built, do you have that RGB background built into any sort of a preset, or like how are you manipulating your photos to match that RGB?
Okay, so I've been using another tool called remove.bg, which I have stopped the subscription when I discovered Evoto because I could see that it could do some. And what I've done is that I basically been creating a solid background of that color. Saving that and then uploading it as one of my backgrounds. But I was wondering if there was a quicker way of doing that, but just so you.
No. Yeah, I don't think so. I think the probably in the interest of time, the fastest way to accomplish what you're describing is nail down that background that you'd want to use that color matches. Save that as a background in the system, and so that you don't have to do any additional manipulation image by image. Nail it down, ingest it into Evoto, and then all you need to do is that one click to apply it. I would spend the time to build it as something of a template and then just ingest it straight into the system.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Great questions.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Tom asked if we can do a run through of the file management. Are they in catalogs like in Lightroom?
Great question. There are not catalogs like there is in Lightroom. However, we do have a pretty intuitive file management system. So from what we can see here on the main page of Evoto, we've got all of these different project folders, right? So each one of these projects runs independently. They don't link together or anything like that. So what we'll do is create a brand new project for every subject or every session that we shoot. The other beautiful thing about Evoto is that we now have Lightroom catalog import. So if you do work in Lightroom catalogs, you can actually bring those into Evoto and you can bring them out of Evoto. So what that looks like is if we were to create a brand new project and we'll say Jay's demo and today's date is the 16th. Now, what I can do is I can import my images or my folders the way that we traditionally would. And I can also drag and drop, or I can also import a Lightroom catalog. So in Lightroom, whether it is the catalog or the collections, you have the ability to save those as .lrcat files. Those .lrcats can be ingested directly into Evoto, do all of your photo manipulation, color adjustments, portrait retouching, background replacements, etc. You can also bundle that back up as an LRCat and re-ingest it over to Lightroom. That's the direct connectivity to Lightroom right now. The other thing that you can do is for ingesting images into Evoto into a workspace anyway, is you can also right-click on those images. So say, for example, we host a session, do a portrait session in the studio or something of the sort. We bring those in, dump them onto an external hard drive or a RAID or a NAS, whatever the case is. We can right-click on those images, and now we'll see a brand new button that says Edit in Evoto. Really, really cool. So we've got two different ways to get images into the system, and the Lightroom catalog is one of the latest and greatest features to get images from Lightroom directly into Evoto and back. Yeah.
That sounds interesting and a little complicated. Is Evoto looking at doing, I don't know, let's say 3-hour seminars that people could then sign up for, pay for, and then
Sure.
That's a little more, like we're just getting a nice brush of everything, but
right.
to learn some of this stuff more intensely, it might require a little more time. Is that something that Evoto is looking at doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few different things, and I had a really, really lovely interaction with a woman this past weekend at a trade show. Actually, she came up. She'd never heard of Evoto, so lots of training is needed because she's seeing a platform, brand new, editing platform for the first time. Does it do this? Yes. Does it do this? Yes. Does it do this? Yes. And she's like, I don't understand. How is it so cheap and where do I learn more? That type of thing. Yeah. We do new user webinars on a weekly basis. Those are typically 45 minutes plus about 10 or 15 for Q&A. Those are geared towards new users that have very little experience or no experience in the system. Like, where do I even begin? How do I import photos? How do I get to that stray hair removal thing that I saw that guy Jay talking about, right? Those types of things. We also just released, and we're still in the process of editing one of them. We've got 2 brand new master classes. We do work with influencers with recognizable figures in the photography industry that we've partnered with to create masterclass trainings. So those will be one of which is already released, and one is coming very, very soon, probably in the next few days. Those are a little bit more intensive. Those will also incorporate live shooting and image ingestion and all of the retouching, shuttling images to and from. Much more comprehensive, I think. So we've got a little bit of everything for everybody, and you've also got me. I can walk anybody that's on this call that wants to get together with me. I'll flash my email address, and hopefully, Dwayne, you guys can share it too. If anybody wants to get together for one-on-one, for a demo, or just to talk through some stuff, I'm also available, and that's a big part of my function with the team too.
Yeah, we'll have links available to everybody,
sure.
And also, of course, to follow you and be connected to you on LinkedIn as well, right?
Oh, great! Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Barry, do we have somebody else that was going to jump in on a call? Let me just see. So Amy has asked, maybe let's see if we got, let me just hang on to that. Amy has asked, the Lightroom catalog is only if you are doing separate catalogs per shoot, right? For those of us using one catalog for all shoots, that isn't an option.
I would say that's correct. What I would encourage those users to do is if they're not creating collections within that catalog, that might be something to explore. Otherwise, yes, the catalog is going to incorporate every single photo that's in your life.
Yeah. I think regardless of which application that you love using, the more organized we can be with creating a hierarchy, a system, a process is helpful.
Absolutely.
I think we're getting kind of close on our time. Unless there's something else you want to show us, and maybe this is the time where we can, if there's any other questions that any of our audience members have for Jay, this is a good time.
Yeah, please fire away. I'm just kind of clicking around to see if we didn't really talk about eyeglass glare removal, so I figured I'd show it while you were chatting with me here.
Something, a Dwayne story is, so we photographed 15 accountants the other day. We shot them on gray. Our plan is to add them, to send it out and have them masked and put on a background that we had shot at this location. Sure. And I normally would just, Lightroom proofing gallery, select a shot, which they've just now done. And then I Photoshop them, and then I send it off to a guy that is somewhere, and then he sends it back. And they're pretty good. I might have to do a little bit of fine tuning, but I'm really excited to try it myself. And so this is the timing is great. And I know for sure I wasn't going to do too much in Lightroom's already done. I wasn't going to do too much in Photoshop, but Evoto is going to be great for, the normal retouching we do, the flyaways, the glasses glare. It's terrific. How about like lint on a suit jacket? Does it do that?
Great question. Not yet, but it's something that is being discussed for future release. Yeah, the lint in dust removal would be greatly appreciated for any and all, both for subjects and for fabric backgrounds too. I think that would be great. So no, short answer right now, no. We'll still need to go in and individually grab with the content aware tool or the patch healing or whatever. Grab those things individually.
Yeah. I'm always trying to encourage our members to pay attention to those things in camera, to not always rely on an application to take care of it. So, it's attention to details, right? This is helpful for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Completely.
So something
agree.
like this, Jay, like I see this sort of kind of a bit of a yellow cast that's sort of hitting part of the face. Is that something that we can pull out?
Yeah, so exactly like I was describing before, what I would do is I would pop into the local adjustments for this particular person. Maybe I just want to do the skin itself, and then I can adjust based on my eye, right? For me, I might come in and make her a little bit cooler, maybe a little bit warmer, change the exposure, the contrast. The main thing for her is the color adjustment here. So what I might do is actually just pop down into my HSL and bring her in one direction or the other, just to kind of even her. She's getting blasted with the sun in this photo. I pushed it way too far here, but you get the idea. Is I would make a subtle adjustment to make to make it look less sunny on the face.
And you could make her teeth whiter and not so yellow as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a couple different tools for that. If I pop down into teeth touch up, I've got a teeth whitening tool. I'm going to go a little bit more conservative with that, and I can adjust the brightness and the desaturation. I can also replace her teeth as well. So if I pop back into the facial expression, this will keep them intact. It's making some subtle adjustments to her teeth, but it looks like it's maintaining the original teeth. That's cool. Yeah.
I think we're getting pretty close. What I think you wanted to present, Jay, for everyone who has participated in this webinar from an audience perspective, that Evoto has a nice little gesture of a gift, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm working with the team to get that organized right now. So what it would be great is for existing users of Evoto, we'd like to hook you guys up with some bonus credits just for participating and being here today. And for those of you that ask questions, much appreciated. And for new users, those of you that want to test the system, Evoto is free to download and it's free to use. So you actually don't need credits to even get into the system to test anything that we looked at today. Any of the sliders that I showed you, moving around, the background adjustments, all the straight hair, all that stuff is accessible to you right now. After this call ends, you can download the program and get started today. But I'd love to help you out with some free credits. So that's what we're working on right now. So what we're intending to do is hook you guys up via email. We'll send you a unique code that you can use to establish your account or to add some bonus credits to your account. It will likely come in the form of a Google Web form. You'll answer a couple of quick questions, just what kind of photography do you typically shoot? What's your monthly editing volume? Those types of things, really basic questions so we can get a feel for who you are and what your business is about. And then we'll hook you up with some credits so you can actually export images out of the system.
Okay. So we'll get in the middle of that to make sure that everybody that participated today, and what I would encourage everyone who's still on the call is to, I don't know, Barry, unless you have another idea, email me, Dwayne@headshotsmatter.com, subject line Evoto. I just want to make sure that we don't let anybody sort of slip through the cracks on this. And then we'll connect each person with we have everyone's email. So that's terrific. Okay, good. We'll, Barry's way more organized than I am. I'm so lucky. Thanks, Barry. So we'll help connect. We'll get in the middle of that.
Yeah, I do see some other questions in the chat, Dwayne. Just really quickly, I want to speak to Amy's question. Say it handles raw images. Does that mean that we no longer need to create TIFFs or JPEGs to work in Evoto? Technically, yes. You could bring in a TIFF or a JPEG. You won't be able to bring in a PSD file. There's a limitation on Photoshop image or Photoshop files anyway. But yeah, you can bring in TIFFs or JPEGs into Evoto. And can these adjustments be added on import when tethering? Yes, is the short answer. The presets can be applied during a live tether, which is one of that's the beauty of Evoto's tether, is that you can apply those presets. So I actually did that with the session that I mentioned I shot recently. I built a preset prior to her showing up with her pet. Straight hair removal, face shine removal, I dialed that back a little bit, some basic blemish, and I did the body unification. So her face would match the skin tone because I knew I was going to see shoulders and arms. So yes, that can be built into a preset and applied during a live tether. And so the photo actually shows up on screen edited. It's wonderful. It's a lovely thing. For those of you that shoot tethered, I would highly encourage you to build a preset or use one of ours, test it out, see how it works. And please come back to me with feedback. And then is Jay, can we see the before and after? I think we talked to that. Do a lot of retouching.
Some of these I asked as they were coming in.
Okay, cool. And stacking people in the film strip. Not sure what that means. Those were just ingested photos in that film strip at the bottom.
So Jennifer, you just had sent something that I think Craig had mentioned. Can you share that again? Maybe a provocative question, but what tasks do you find people still go over to Photoshop for after Evoto?
Yeah, really good question. In almost all instances, it is with the straight hair removal will sometimes create a minor halo effect. And again, this depends very much on background and subject separation. It happens very rarely, but that's almost exclusively why people are still going over to Photoshop with their images. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like any tool, right? It's good to have more than one in your tool belt, right? That
of course,
use the right one for the right time. And as Evoto grows, perhaps we might, that makes me sad to say it, but maybe use Photoshop less, right? Photoshop has been our long-standing friend for so long as photographers. But,
it's a mainstay, I know.
Yeah. It's another tool, and and if it can help us do our job, it's pretty terrific. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this, Jay?
No, I think I did a lot of talking here today, and thank you for giving me the time and the space to meet with your lovely community and share some Evoto stuff. But I want to hear from everybody else. I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
In the future, I would love to come back and have more meaningful conversations. I'm happy to do demos. I mean, this is a big piece of what I do, but I want to hear from the group and capture feedback and listen to you guys and figure out what else we can do to help, serve the community.
Yeah, I would really like to make this a regular. I don't know how often, but as our community grows, as Evoto grows, we'd like to do this again, maybe in a few months, and that we'll have some different questions that'll come our way. The application will be continuing to enhance itself. That's quite cool. I also really want to, thanking you, Jay. I want to, thank Mandy at Evoto who helped piece this together, and really just those folks that are working on this behind the scenes. We're very grateful as a community of photographers. If anything that can help us do our job better, take better care of our clients, help them feel better about themselves as they see their photos, it's really terrific. So thanks. We're very grateful. Awesome. Amy just said something. What did you say, Amy? Can you just? Amy says, I cannot overstate how much I like Evoto. I used to use Photoshop plugin, but this blows all of them out of the water. So There you go. That says it all. Thanks, Amy, for that.
Positive sentiments. Yeah, I mean, it's all very much well received. Thank you, Dwayne. In your messages, your thoughts will get back to the team for sure. Incredible crew that's building this stuff. All these features behind the scenes, how fast they're able to move. And the fact that they're listening to us, they're listening to us photographers. We're intentionally building this tool to help serve this photography community, this photography industry. It's remarkable. I'm so excited to be a part of this team and to be able to come here and talk to groups like you guys and share this, right? Because this is what the future looks like for us. This is the future of being able to move faster so that we can serve more people. So I'm thrilled to be a part of the team and I'm really, really excited to get connected with you guys.
Yeah, good. I also want to just pass on my thanks to Barry, who has this very important task of being behind the scenes and also communicating with the folks in Singapore. So thanks, Barry. And I always want to say thank you to my creative partner and wife, Jennifer, who's back there as well, making notes and helping us sort of move things along. So thank you, everyone. So I think on that note, I hope you have a good weekend.
You too.
And
thanks, Dwayne.
And everyone else that attended, we're very grateful. Barry, is there anything that I need to tell anybody to stay on, or I think we're good to hang up? I think, right?
I think so. I'm going to drop my email in the chat just for anybody that wants to email me right now.
Perfect.
Hopefully, everybody can see that.
Yeah.
That's public. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Barry.
And Jay, I'm going to grab your LinkedIn as well. So just let me just grab this and there, put that there. And here we go. And we'll be crunching some of this imagery and information and putting out a little bit of social posts as well, so people will see it. Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Have an awesome rest of your Friday, everyone, and Jay, and we'll talk to you all soon. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
All right. Okay.
Thanks. Bye.